From the Oklahoman newsroom, it's time for an OU update. I'm Jenny Carlson. Today, the OU Board of Regents met and approved several items involving Oklahoma athletics. Brooke Pryor joins us on the phone to discuss some of the top of the list items, and prime among them, Brooke, is a raise for Lincoln Riley, a pretty substantial raise. The Oklahoma football coach going from his starting salary of $3.8 million, which he made as the rookie head coach of the Sooners this past year. He's going up to $4.8, and then he's going to have some incremental increases. His assistants getting raises. What's top of the head for you as it relates to these raises for the football coaches?
Well, I think Lincoln Riley's raise is definitely the most substantial and the most noteworthy. Like you said, he will get $4.8 million next year, or I guess in the coming year. But the new terms of his salary, it's a 5-year deal. He'll get paid $25 million over the life of the contract, which averages out to about $5 million annually. That doesn't put him at the highest paid head coach in the Big 12. He's actually still, I believe, the 4th highest behind Tom Herman, Mike Gundy, and Gary Patterson. But still, I think that it shows OU being proactive toward wanting to keep their head coach around. And Joe Castiglione said, hey, we know that we don't have to max out the marketplace. We don't have to hit the highest number to keep him around, but we do want to make sure that we're giving him raises as we can to, reward what he's done in the past year and make sure that he's happy and not looking, for greener pastures. And I think $4.8 million is plenty green for Lincoln Riley for right now.
Yeah, part of that compensation package is also an annual stay bonus that'll kick in on June 1st every year at $500,000, Brooke, $500,000 every year. He's still under contract on June 1st. There'll also be $500,000 given to retirement, supplemental retirement income for him. Those are some pretty juicy add-ons to a pretty already hefty pay raise. I got to think those are the types of things that will make any head coach pretty happy.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially that stay bonus. That is a significant amount of money. When you look at it, his stay bonus is more than a lot of his assistants make in 1 year. And that's just what he's getting for sticking around. So I think that that's huge for him. I think the retirement income is also big, especially when you consider that he has a family, 2 young kids. He's pretty much set up for life, I would think. Granted, I don't know his spending habits, but all things considered, he's doing pretty well. Definitely
so. Maybe that might be the most noteworthy, as you say, proactive activity to make sure Lincoln Riley is the head coach at Oklahoma for a long time to come. But also included in the raises was an extension for Mike Stoops, the defensive coordinator, who has at times been embattled during his return years there in Oklahoma. He's got an extension through early January of 2020, so he is under contract for a couple more seasons. Is that at all a surprise, Brooke?
I don't think so. That was pretty much the standard extension for most of the assistants. I think it was Tim Kish, Dennis Simmons, and Calvin Thibodeau all received just 1-year extensions, but Mike Stoops, as a part of that group that all received the extensions through January 31st, 2020, he is getting a $30,000 raise, so he'll be making about $900,000 annually plus a $500,000 annual, or a $50,000, annual stay bonus that he would get next year. And I think, just because he got the raise and the extension, I don't think that necessarily makes him any safer. If he, doesn't perform well this season, if the defense doesn't do well, I think that there are still ways to get him out of that contract, and that is not ironclad by any means.
We'll obviously have a complete rundown of all the raises and extensions for Oklahoma football coaches in the Oklahoman and on News OK, so be sure to check all those out. You can see those in detail from Brooke's reporting. And Brooke, that was the football news, if you will, at the Regents meeting. But then some other news that's pretty important for a very successful program at OU, that being softball. Today, the Regents approving plans for a new softball facility. What's at play here? What did they agree to during that Regents meeting?
So right now they haven't even initially approved plans. They have approved the ability to look into plans. So now they can kind of start contracting out. They can start looking at, different firms, looking at different possible designs. They do have kind of some rough sketches for what they want. It looks like they would like to have a seating capacity of 3,000, which is a significant increase from Marita Hines, which was anywhere between 1,300 and I think the record is 1,900 fans in attendance for a game, but that 1,900 is including standing room only seats, the outfield bleachers being brought in, that kind of temporary seating. So comfortably, Marita Hines fits between 1,300 and 1,700 if those outfield bleachers are there. They want that. They want, I believe, 6 bathrooms, 3 concession stands with 11 points of sale, and a 10,000 square foot indoor practice facility, as well as locker rooms, classroom, head coaches' offices, I believe. So yeah, they want to just build an entirely new stadium. Their budget is $22 million, and it would be completely privately funded, which was a point of emphasis that Joe Castiglione made, because OU President-designate Jim Gallagly opened up the meeting talking about how OU really needed to tighten its belt, cut down on spending, cut down on the building projects, and here you've got Joe Castiglione saying, hey, we're going to make a $22 million, we'd like to make a $22 million softball stadium. But that money is not, coming from the university's general pot. It's all paid for by private donations. And so that's kind of where things stand. It's still a very long way off from them breaking ground and that being opened, but it is a step in the direction of OU having a new facility.
Brooke, this people might remember a year or so ago, OU, Joe Castiglione announcing plans that they were going to renovate Marita Hines Field, the stadium where the Sooner softball team currently is. But it sounds like that was essentially scrapped because the price and just some logistics weren't going to work out, that a new facility was the way to go. Is that essentially where things stand and why they're going to have to start over with a new facility of this size?
Yeah, and I think their budget isn't that much more money. You're still talking millions of dollars, but I believe for renovations, the price that they were looking at was about $15 million. So this being $22 million, and they get an entirely new facility and all of these extra bonuses. But the other thing is that to renovate Marita Hines, they would have to shift the stadium closer to the road. And there's the potential, as Joe Castiglione was saying, that the roads could be widened, there could be traffic pattern changes, all of these things they talked with the city, that it just became more viable for the long term to start a new stadium in that space, and that's at the corner of Imhoff and South Jenkins. It's the northwest corner. It said northeast on a bunch of paperwork, but it's the northwest corner, kind of an odd intersection, but it will be right beside the Sam Viersen Gymnastics Center and right across Imhoff from the Lloyd Noble Center, so fans will be able to utilize that parking at Lloyd Noble Center, which is huge because, for the last couple of years, OU fans have had to park in that kind of big grassy field right beside the softball stadium. So none of that anymore once this is built. If it all gets approved and goes through, you don't have to worry about, your tires spinning on the mud after it rains or anything like that. So that will be a welcome change.
Yeah, just to give people a little clearer idea, even more, it's the softball stadium essentially just moving south down the street there towards Lloyd Noble Center. So again, it will be several years, but the Board of Regents approving, in addition to some salary increases for football staff, approving those plans to go ahead and look at a new softball complex there at OU. We'll continue to have coverage of all of that news in the Oklahoman and on News OK, so be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.